Hi, everyone, and welcome to How to Set Boundaries Using Tapping Techniques. So let's dive into the demonstration about tapping and what tapping is and why I feel it is such a valuable addition to my daily self-care routine. So just to give you a little bit of background about tapping, it was discovered by a man named Gary Craig in the 90s. He based his work off of the work of a man named Roger Callahan, and he fine-tuned it and started taking the tapping method and techniques into veteran hospitals and started doing tapping with the veterans that were staying there, and noticed that these veterans who really had a hard time in just talking about their experiences at war or overseas, because there was so much trauma, that they couldn't even get through the narrative in talking about what had happened to them and their experiences. So Gary Craig introduced tapping techniques to these veterans. And by the end of the sessions, and I actually watched some of these sessions live because he recorded them, and it was part of his training videos, the training videos that I completed on EFT, which is the formal name of tapping. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique. So it's formally called EFT, but we just like to call it tapping because that's easier to say. So Gary Craig found that it was very valuable for veterans in reducing their trauma, but it didn't stop there. He did lots of peer-reviewed research studies, and other universities jumped on the bandwagon in doing these research studies and found that tapping was useful for so many things. Just to name a few, anxiety is a big one because what tapping does is it calms the nervous system by sending a message to the part of the brain called the amygdala, which is where our fight or flight response originates in the brain. And so what he discovered was he used some ancient traditional Chinese medicine techniques of acupuncture and acupressure points. There are 9 different points we're going to go over. And just by giving gentle stimulation to those points, it sent a message, a calming message to the brain that I'm safe, I'm calm. And so it had the opposite reaction of someone who's in a fight or flight response or a fear response, a stress response. So other things that research showed that tapping could help with are also things like food cravings, smoking cessation, negative habits, any habits that we want to reduce, that we don't want to practice anymore. Tapping can really help reduce those negative habits because it calms the nervous system in that moment when we feel that fight or flight response. And what do we normally do in response to that is we want to quickly search for a way to cope and to calm down the nervous system. So we may reach for unhealthy things like food, sugar, cigarettes, alcohol, overworking, overthinking, maybe relationships that we shouldn't be in. So just things that are unhealthy for us. We reach for those things because they're a quick and easy way to calm the nervous system. And sometimes those things do work in the short term, but they cause long-term effects and negative consequences. So this is where tapping is a much healthier option to calm the nervous system, and it works very quickly. You can tell within seconds, even minutes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer depending on, how much anxiety you're experiencing in the moment, but it can literally take seconds to minutes for your nervous system to feel that shift from the sympathetic response or the stress response to the parasympathetic response, which is rest and digest and relaxation. So in a moment when we go over, when I lead you through this demonstration, that's what I want you to be looking for, is feeling a shift in your nervous system. whatever that feels like. And it could be different things that you experience when our nervous system is in fight or flight or the sympathetic response. Things we experience could be dry mouth, trouble swallowing, losing our voice going hoarse, clammy hands, digestion slows down. We could, of course, feel very anxious. Our pupils may be dilated, increased heart rate, increased sweating. We could get goosebumps. Our vision may struggle. We may have trouble focusing in on something. Things may all of a sudden seem a little bit fuzzier. Another big thing that happens in the sympathetic response is because we're in fight or flight and all of the activity is going to the mammalian part of the brain or reptilian primal part of the brain in order to get us through that threat and to get us through that perceived threat. So for giving the example of if you're being chased by a tiger, all the blood and oxygen is going to go to that part of the brain that's preparing you to survive that threat. So all the other non-essential parts of the brain are going to shut down. So the frontal lobe, the part of the brain where you have to think and rationalize and make executive decisions, is going to be temporarily shut down because your body, your adrenaline, it needs to react. You need all the energy and adrenaline as possible so you can run away from that threat. And then once the threat is neutralized, that part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, comes back online, and then you're more able to think rationally and have better judgment and things like that. But that part of the brain temporarily shuts down when we're in fight or flight. So that feeling of brain fog that a lot of people experience could also mean that your body is in a sympathetic response and that you need to do some nervous system work in order for the brain to come back online and be able to think rationally through the issues at hand. And we can really only do that when we're in a parasympathetic state. And so the quite opposite things happen when the parasympathetic response kicks in, or our vagus nerve, which is our 10th cranial nerve, the largest cranial nerve that connects the brain to the body, starts at the base of the brain and goes all throughout our body, connects to all of our organs. The vagus nerve is like our super highway nerve. When that nerve gets clogged with stress hormones and cortisol, it can't send the messages that it needs to send to all the organs. So those organs can do their functions that they were meant to do in our bodies. So when we shift over to the parasympathetic response, or when that vagus nerve is stimulated or it is calmed, we're going to feel things. When we start to feel like we're calming down, we're going to start being able to swallow again, maybe salivate. Again, our eyes are going to go from being really big to a lot smaller, maybe constricted when we're very relaxed. Our goosebumps are going to go back down. Our digestion is going to start working again. So we may hear those digestive juices flowing again. We may be able to urinate when we may not have been able to urinate when we're in that stress response. And another two major things that I know when I'm in parasympathetic response are my muscles relax. I have more range of motion. That's a big way that I can tell is that I'm calming down. So my muscles start relaxing and I start yawning. Yawning is not just a sign that you're tired. And in fact, sometimes that's not even what yawning means. It means that you are in a calm parasympathetic response. So if we're doing the tapping and you start yawning, that is a good response and I won't be offended. It doesn't mean I'm boring you. It means I'm doing my job at relaxing you. Other things that tapping are useful for are chronic pain, discomfort, They help me with my headaches and migraines, for example, or just when I feel really tired and fatigued, or backaches, stomach aches. They help with physical discomfort, because if you think about it, when we feel pain, our fight or flight response kicks in. Uh-oh, what's going on? I'm feeling this pain. That must mean something's wrong. What if something really bad is going on? What if I'm sick? What if I have a tumor? Some of us really go into that fight or flight state when we feel any kind of physical symptom. And so that's another way that tapping can help, is to calm that nervous system, and therefore reducing that pain symptom, reducing the pain messages that the brain is receiving. If the brain is getting that message of, no, it's okay, everything's okay, then that pain will start to subside. So that's another way that tapping can help. Another way it can help is with limiting beliefs. So, for example, black and white thinking. We all can be guilty of black and white thinking, or when we think it's got to be all or nothing. I've got to be perfect at this or else I'm a failure. That's an example of all or nothing, or black and white thinking, or perfectionism. It can help with things like self-sabotage. It can help with low self-esteem. It can help with confidence, self-doubt. It can help with many different emotions, anxiety, anger, resentment, disappointment. I actually did a tap last night and this morning about disappointment, because I felt just disappointed at the way that the message didn't come across the way that I had hoped. And the tapping actually helped reduce that feeling, and also just gave me the idea and the confidence to move forward and make a new video and just try to redeem the situation. So it definitely helped me in that situation. Another thing that tapping helped me with this week was fear of going to the dentist. Actually, 2 days before my talk, preparing for the summit, I broke one of my teeth, my front tooth right here. I cracked my tooth on a pretzel 2 days before the summit, and my tooth literally fell completely out of my mouth, and I was had a huge gaping hole in my front teeth. And of course, my nervous system was like, "Ooh, okay, this is a problem." Thankfully, I have an amazing dentist. I called him. I was able to get in, and he was able to fix me up temporarily. I do have to work on getting an implant, which is going to cost $3,000. So my nervous system has definitely been through the ringer this week, on top of being nervous about giving my talk and hoping it went well. I was nervous about having to show up in front of hundreds of people with no front tooth. And so tapping really helped. And I tapped on fear of, going to the dentist, fear of, is this going to work? And it really did help me to get through the appointment. So I definitely know that the tapping works. And there's so many more things that it can help with. I want to share an amazing resource as well about tapping that I didn't get to share on my talk. And that is, there is an app that makes tapping really easy and accessible, called the Tapping Solution. You can download it on your phone, and it couldn't be easier to open up the app, choose a tap that is relating to what you are feeling, and there's many different tapping meditations. There's a free version and a paid version. The free version, you actually do get quite a bit of options with. The premium version, of course, is even better. And you literally pick one that fits what you're feeling in that moment. You press play, and you just follow along with the instructor. It is a family, 2 brothers and a sister, the Ortners, Nick, Jessica, and Alex Ortner, who developed this app. Brilliant. This goes down as probably number 1 in my top 10 favorite apps of all time. and definitely worth it. I use it on a daily basis. I use it in the morning. I use it in the evening when I'm winding down. I use it throughout the day. And how often you use it is up to you. If you don't have time to play the whole meditation that is like 7 minutes long, you only have time to do 1 minute. That's fine. You make it work for you. It's so easy because you press play and they talk you through what to do. They say, okay, tap here now, tap here, and they show you all the points. They tell you repeat after me, and that's very similar to what I'm about to walk y'all through. So let's walk through the 9 points, and I'm going to go over the 9 different tapping points that we're going to do. So the first point is called the karate chop point, and that is along the fleshy side of the hand, between like the wrist and the end of the pinky there. So this fleshy part here, and they call it the karate chop point because if you imagine a karate chop. So you just tap. Doesn't matter how many fingers you use to tap. You can use 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't matter. As long as you're getting that tapping sensation, and use just gentle but firm pressure. You don't want to beat yourself. You don't want to cause any pain. But if tapping is painful, because I know there are some people that have rheumatoid arthritis or any kind of pain, just go very, very lightly, or even just rub the point. That also works. Or you can just touch it. Whatever, make it work for you. That's the thing. Make it work for you. And it doesn't matter which hand, because the acupuncture points are asymmetrical. So you can always start with one hand, and if you want to switch to the other, you can do that. Okay, so that's point number 1. Point number 2 is the eyebrow point, between the eyebrows, right there on that crease, on where the eyebrow meets the bridge of the nose. And again, you can choose to do both sides if you want, if that feels good to be even, or you can do one or you can do the other. Do what works for you. All right, so that's point number 2. Point number 3 is the side of the eye, so that bone, where the bone is right there on the side of the eye. And again, you can do both or one or the other. And then the next point is underneath the eye, so that top of the cheekbone there. I like to do 2 hands here for some reason. Okay, and then the next point is underneath the nose, so right there where kind of that mustache area is. Some people I've seen do it like this, but those are usually the women who have the long nails. They don't want to stab themselves with the nails. So you can do that, or you can do this. Next point is the chin, that crease there, in the chin. Okay, and how many times you tap, it just depends. However many you feel, there's no set number. Okay, and then the next point is the collarbone. So the bone that goes right across the top of the chest there. You can usually feel it. So right there, maybe a little bit underneath that bone. I like to do both hands here, but you don't have to do both. You can do one or the other. Okay, and then the next point is underneath the armpit. So right, like a couple inches down from the armpit, ladies, where your bra strap is. Okay, so you can do one hand here, or you can cross. I like to cross because it kind of feels like a little self-hug there. And you're also stimulating, this is the spleen point, the spleen acupressure point there. So you're also getting a twofer here because you're stimulating the spleen, which stimulates metabolism and digestion as well. Okay, so the next point is the top of the head. I like to, you can just have it be right on top of the head, but I just like to kind of tap all around the head, and that's okay too. I like to get in the back where the occipital region is, because I get migraines sometimes that originate back here. So I just like to kind of go all over the head, but you do what feels good for you. Okay, and then that's the end of the cycle. So those are the 9 points. So now what I'm going to do is walk you through the demonstration. If you're at a place where you can repeat after me, please do so. That will get the most effects of the exercise. If you're not able to repeat after me, just repeat it in your mind or just listen. And if you're not able to tap, you can also just listen to the meditation. I often do that, for example, when I'm lying down at night to go to sleep and I don't feel like tapping, or I'm just very tired and it's hard to even, sometimes I'm so tired and fatigued, it's hard to even lift my hands and do the tapping action. So it's okay to also just listen to the meditation. So before we go into the script, I want you to rate your level of anxiety, your level of discomfort, and in relation to, because the script that I wrote is about setting boundaries. That's another really great thing that tapping can help with. It can calm the nervous system and prepare us when we have to set challenging and scary boundaries with people. That can definitely be something that's definitely something that a lot of us struggle with, is saying no. We don't want to disappoint other people. We don't want to feel like we're letting them down. We don't want to feel like we're not part of the herd. And when we set a boundary, all kinds of feelings and emotions and nervous system response happens. We may get dry mouth. We may get really sweaty. We may get really clammy. All of those things that happen in our body that let us know that the nervous system it feels threatened. And so I want you to rate your level of anxiety when you think about setting a boundary. Think about setting a boundary that you have to set. Rate your level of anxiety. 0 is no anxiety at all. 10 is the worst anxiety you can imagine. And I want you to also do a brief body scan. So just kind of drop into your body for a moment and see if you notice any pain and any discomfort. Do you notice any butterflies in the stomach? Do you notice like dry mouth, dry throat? Do you notice any sweating? Do you notice any pain anywhere? Any headache, any kind of discomfort? So just note that. And there's also an assessment that you can do before and after to see if your nervous system responded in a positive way. So the easiest way that I do that is I turn my head to the right and I turn my head to the left as far as it can go comfortably without going into pain. And I just kind of notate, how hard is it? How much range of motion do I have? I can also look up and down and just kind of get a feel for how stiff is my neck and how hard or easy is it for me to turn my head to the right and left and up and down. And then we will repeat that after the exercise. All right. So before we get going, let's take a deep breath in and let it out. And I always like to start by just rubbing our hands together and just taking a deep breath in and out, just kind of noticing that warm sensation that our hands are generating. And let's go ahead and start with the first point, which is the karate chop point. So let's just start tapping on the karate chop point and repeat after me if you can. Even though it feels really unsafe, scary, and uncomfortable to set a boundary, I am working on loving and accepting myself and all the feelings that I'm having. Okay, let's do that setup. That's what you call the setup statement. Let's do that one more time on the karate chop point. If you want to switch hands, you can do that. Even though I feel anxious, guilty about setting boundaries, I know that I need to keep working on them for my mental and physical well-being. Okay, great. Let's go to the eyebrow point now. I have struggled with setting boundaries since I was a child because it doesn't feel safe. I'm afraid that people may not like me if I stand up for myself. I'm afraid that people may abandon me if I set boundaries. So I sometimes let people walk over me. Okay, let's go to the side of the eye point. I worry about what people may think of me. Maybe they think that I'm being cruel or selfish. But I know now that it's not okay to sacrifice my self-care to please others. Okay, let's go underneath the eye now. I am not showing a healthy example to myself and others who may depend on me when I let people violate my boundaries. I need to keep doing this work and learn how to say no when I'm not comfortable doing something. Okay, underneath the nose. When I don't set boundaries, I feel disappointed, maybe even ashamed at myself for not standing my ground. Okay, chin. And then I may do things to numb those emotions, like binge eat, binge watch TV or social media, drink alcohol or over-medicate, overwork, over-exercise, overthink, and extensive people-pleasing. Okay, good. Let's go to the collarbone point now. And I keep engaging in this vicious cycle of unhealthy behaviors as a way to cope. But these things just don't work. And I need to change how I treat myself, as well as teach others how I want to be treated. Okay, great. Underneath the armpit now, you can do one or both. I can't keep living like this. I need to practice telling people no. Okay, on top of the head now. No, I can't do that. No, I'm not comfortable with that. No, I don't want to eat that. No, I can't work overtime. No, I don't want to be touched right now. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, let's go to the eyebrow point now. No, that will not work for me. No is a complete sentence. No. Okay, side of the eye. This is my body. This is my health. This is my time. These are my emotions. This is my money. These are my possessions. These are my choices. These are my boundaries. Okay, underneath the eye now. I am not responsible for other people's choices or their lives. I will choose to help people if I feel safe and comfortable to do so. Okay, underneath the nose. Not because I feel obligated or guilty, or worry that people are going to abandon me? Okay, great. Chin now. Healthy people will respect my boundaries. Unhealthy or toxic people will push my boundaries. And I'm no longer okay with that. Okay, collarbone. I am open to practicing healthy boundaries, as well as making healthy choices about what kind of people I allow into my life. Okay, great. Now let's put our hands together and just rub them together. Take a deep breath in. And exhale, let it out. Okay, let's just put our hands over our heart if that feels comfortable. Take another deep breath in and out. And let's just flutter our eyes back open and come back into the room. And, okay. Do another body scan and see maybe where things have shifted a bit. Did you feel any kind of shift? Do you have less pain and tightness? Do you have less symptoms? Maybe if you had a stomach butterflies, maybe those feel better now. Maybe any pain or discomfort is lessened, even if it's just by a point. If you rated your anxiety on a scale of 0 to 10, what was your number beforehand? Did it come down at all? Did it come down even a point? Even coming down a point is progress. If it didn't come down at all, that's okay. That just means you probably need to repeat the exercise or continue doing another tap. There's so many to choose from on the Tapping Solution app. You can just continue to do until you do feel that shift, until you feel it start to come down on the scale. And then go ahead and reassess your range of motion. So right away, when I turn my head to the right and the left, I can already feel a little bit more range of motion, which means my muscles are more relaxed. When I look up and down, I can also just tell it's a little bit easier to move my neck and shoulders. So all of those things are indicators that you got a positive response. And again, if you didn't get the response that you wanted, that's okay. Just keep going, keep practicing. This video is here whenever you need it. And so is the Tapping Solution app, which will help you in the meantime. It's also very valuable to have the help of either a counselor or a coach who is trained in EFT, emotional freedom technique, or what we call tapping. That is very valuable because when you have a professional, when you have a practitioner who is trained in this modality, they can help you talk about what's come up for you during that tap. We can have, a follow-up where I usually ask my clients, okay, what came up for you? What thoughts were you having? Was any part of this difficult for you? Was there any resistance? Did you notice any resistance? Were you thinking to yourself like, oh my gosh, this is stupid. Like, how is this really going to help me? What is this? I got to admit, I felt the same way when I first started learning about tapping. I thought this was a bunch of woo-woo crap, and there was no way that the tapping was going to help. But something just told me, keep going, keep giving this a try. And the more that I learned about it and saw the results, and when I started practicing it more myself, as I shared a little bit during my summit talk, I went through some traumatic things last year with my health. I found out that I had multiple digestive issues, and I found out that I had mold toxicity. We found mold in our air ducts, and my body tested positive for something called ochratoxin, which is a toxin that is given off by different species of mold and can really affect the nervous system. And on top of the other digestive issues that I was having, they weren't getting better. And I needed some additional, they weren't getting better from the things that I was trying, eating right. Yes, it was getting better to an extent, but I just wasn't turning that corner like I wanted to. And when I found a program called Brain-Based Wellness, and I joined that program, and I hired coaches, applied neurology coaches, to help me walk me through things like tapping, things that are called neurosomatic release. Neuro meaning the brain, somatic is the body. Tapping is an example of a neurosomatic modality. So the more I started practicing these things, I could feel a shift in my nervous system. And I finally turned the corner and started having that healing in my gut that I really needed. So I hope that this demonstration, when I was finally able to go through the entire script that I wrote and designed for the purposes of preparing your nervous system to set difficult boundaries, that this may be the start of a relationship between you and I. If you decide to schedule a 20-minute phone consultation with me and decide to discuss with me maybe how I can help you further, whether it's by using tapping or whether I can help you coach with your health and wellness issues or mental health, whatever it is that you're going through, I would love to speak with you further and have that opportunity to just get to know you a little bit better and discuss maybe how I can help you on a deeper level. And by the way, if you did notice any resistance to this technique, I can just only encourage you to continue trying and practicing. I am proof that I had resistance in the beginning, and you already know that I rolled with that resistance. I pushed through that resistance and came out on the other side. And this has become such an amazing part of my daily self-care routine. I also have a client who has given me permission to share her story, that she really was resistant to this technique in the beginning as well. And she came to me and was like, Leah, I don't get this. I think it's silly. It's stupid. I don't understand how it could work. And I said, well, tell me what's going on for you. And she said, well, first of all, it hurts, it was causing her pain and discomfort with the tapping. And I said, well, wait, how hard are you tapping? And it came to find out that because she was getting so worked up in the emotions of processing the emotions, it was causing her to really tap really hard. And because she has rheumatoid arthritis, it was causing some pain. And I said, okay, I get that. Let's be mindful of the pressure and, back it off a bit, and maybe even just start with just a rub, just a gentle rub. It doesn't even have to be a tap. It could be a gentle massage. And so she tried that and was able to do it with more ease. And bam, all of a sudden she started getting these amazing results. And now she came to me and has said it's really helped her to work through some of her past trauma and to process a lot of emotions that have come up for her in our therapy sessions. And so I'm really grateful that we were able to work through some of her resistance. So if you're noticing any resistance, I encourage you to just keep giving it a try. And I would be glad to work through any of that resistance. One of my one of the things I really enjoy doing with clients is helping them overcome obstacles of self-sabotage and helping them figure out how they're getting in their own way and how we can eliminate those obstacles so they can meet their goals and make their dreams happen. And that was actually one of the points that I didn't get to discuss in my talk was, we were supposed to come up with kind of 3 tips that we would give our clients. And the first tip that I shared was to invest time, energy, and finances into your self-care. The second tip was to figure out where you are getting in your own way, where you may be committing self-sabotage. And that is one of the ways that I love to show up for clients, is to just walk them through, be on the other side while they process their resistance to things and figure out, is this something we can work through? Sometimes it's just not. Sometimes that intervention just isn't for you. It's not your thing. And sometimes that's just okay. But other times it may be for you. You're just getting in your own way. And I would love the opportunity to help you to work through any of those self-sabotage things that we often do to ourselves. We are our worst inner critic and inner saboteur. And I would love to have that opportunity to help you work through any of those things. Also, just to tell you about some opportunities that I have for you moving forward. A big perk that you get in my women's membership is every month we do several virtual events. We have 5 virtual events per month. So pretty much there's something every week to go to. There's coaching calls. There's a guest speaker every month. There's a social event every month. And there is a tapping and live meditation every month, where I walk you through a different type of meditation every month, because I want those of you who are interested in learning how to meditate and who may be getting in your own way with meditation. I also want to dispel the myth that in order to be good at meditation, you have to be able to completely clear your mind. And that is just simply not true. That is not a requirement to have a successful experience with meditation. Meditation and tapping, as you can see with tapping, is a big passion of mine, and I enjoy facilitating different types of meditation. I've got many amazing scripts that I'm excited to use, and I want to expose you to the different types of meditation. So if you're interested in any of that, please keep an eye out on your emails, and there are many ways to get in contact with me in those emails. And I will also include some of those ways to contact me in the notes underneath this video. Thanks so much. I wish you the best in your self-care journey.